Hey, good morning or good afternoon if you're in the USA, and if you're overseas, it's probably fabulous Friday night or might even be Saturday morning, right? I am Bruce, also known as the guy in the blue shirt amongst my friends. My method is simpler, faster, better. And what I do, we were just chatting with DeeJae, I help people clean up and really make their process cleanup. So welcome, DeeJae, from Central Florida. And you're a returning guest. Thank you. All right. So a little intro from DeeJae, and we've got an exciting little session here today that we've just designed on the spot, right, DeeJae?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
As
yeah.
it happens.
All right, cool. So go ahead, introduce yourself, and then I know there's some things that you want to get right into, so we'll do that.
Yes, time is limited and it is so precious, right? Who would better than to confirm this than you, Bruce? I'm DeeJae. I tend to be a live stream strategist and coach. It's something that I love to do, but I'm more so an advocate for people with disabilities. I love talking about mental health topics and just advocating for those in need of those types of services. And I love to support providers and those that provide services to individuals in need. So that's really where my world comes from, and my history and my background comes with social services
Yeah.
round
And
of working with people. So advocating and live streaming and just bringing up these topics and talking about the harder stuff in life that kind of gets us is where we're going to take this conversation. So let's get to it. And
more realism and
more
actually,
reality. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think it's something that's so important that we always consider is the reality of it all. Oftentimes we get caught up in the ideas, the dreams, the goals, the future, what it could be, what it should look like, what you hope you're going to get out of it, and what the impact you're going to make. And then you realize very soon and very quickly all the hard stuff that comes in between before you, from here to there.
well, talking hard stuff before we go into flow.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your national security, and hadn't shared this with you. So DeeJae's a vet. Thank you for doing that. But actually, my main customer is also helping national security as well. So we have that new thing in common. And finally, if you are watching, DeeJae and I, unfortunately, we can't see that you're watching unless you say something. So don't be shy. Say hi. That's all you have to do. And the reason I mention that is that's actually how DeeJae and I met. We actually met in what I call the 4C process, which is I was commenting on somebody else's live stream. I don't remember exactly who, but DeeJae was in the comments. So we started a little conversation, which led us to, hey, let's connect with each other. And then after connecting with each other, we got kind of by osmosis, almost like we got sucked into this community of live stream, either hosts or guests. So we got into that community. And what's interesting inside that community, and like DeeJae's a great example, she's coming back as a returning guest. You know, we have opportunities to collaborate with another C, the people that we choose to, right? Very important. And so, you know, you're not going to be for everybody. Everybody's not going to be for you. And that's one of the hard realities that, you know, in my shining object syndrome of being, oh, I'd love to be a live stream host, you know, there's some hard stuff around. Well, you're not everybody's host, Bruce. And you're definitely not everybody's guest. So, you know, reality number one is you have to have a thick skin, right? So I'll let you lead off from there.
Well, I think that's a fabulous point. You're right. We are not for everyone. We are very niched. We know what we're passionate about. We know who we want to care for, who we want to tend to, who we want to connect with. And like I already said in my intro, for me, it really is about talking about advocacy and disability and mental health and all the things that affect us as a person, as a real person, as we go through our journey, building our career, building our business, building the goals that we have set for ourselves outside of the personal issues that we deal with. So for me, it's fantastic. And I think it's important to absolutely come to terms with all
Right.
those things, the things that we have to manage and deal with, who we're trying to connect with, and identify those things and be real about those things.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
you also have to be. I find that my greatest lessons learned is that you have to be real with yourself. And
Right.
because looking in the mirror is one thing. That's a static look. When you're hosting and or being a guest, you're in motion. It's forever there unless you go delete it, right? I mean, the cool
Yes.
thing about the internet is massive searchability capabilities. The not so cool thing about the internet, trying to get rid of it is pretty tough.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So many thoughts just ran through my mind. Static, it's that photo, that image that you just
Yeah,
want everyone to see you as. And then the reality of it is coming to terms with, like you said, what we're really going through, what we're dealing with, and then having to manage all that. Some of us
yeah,
can call it chaos, some of us can call it the hardships in our lives, but definitely is important to kind of
yeah. Well,
stay connected to that.
I don't know about you, but there's a big emotional component that people don't talk about very much, right?
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, I've been a guest sometimes, and somebody will say something, and it literally stops my brain from thinking. Number one, number two, I'm a talker. It stops me from talking, even though I'm an introvert behaviorally like yourself. But more importantly, sometimes it will trigger emotions, and it'll make you either, go back to your primeval thoughts, right? Sometimes, I've cried on a live stream before. It's like, if somebody had told me, Bruce, you need to be prepared at times you might have to cry, or other times I get negative or I get defensive. And it just has that way of really driving those primeval emotions that, most of the time we hide in professional life. We have mechanisms for avoidance, right?
Absolutely. This is pretty much the foundation of today's talk, is back to that reality. And like if I said, it's difficult to talk about those difficult personal things. Like if we have a disability, if we have a medical or chronic illness, or we have
Right,
a mental health issue, and we're trying to act like we don't, we're trying to fit
right.
in, we're trying to fit the mold, we're trying to just keep going and continue the competitiveness with our peers and those around us in our competition, and it can be a lot. So
Yeah. So this is the place to get your tough questions answered. So if you are listening, pop your questions in there. We may not address them on air, but we will definitely address them in the comments. So yeah, please, if you are listening, watching, we don't know unless you say something. So just say hi. And so let's go with some of that tough stuff.
sure.
Maybe, we chatted about doing an exercise that I call, a lessons learned, and you kind of like that idea. So maybe hit upon, let's start with some positive things, right? Maybe hit upon some of the couple of things that have really gone well for you as an individual, or being known as a host. What are some of the things that have gone well, and what's been the positive aspect of
Sure.
that?
Okay, so we're going to keep this to live streaming fairly,
Yes,
because
please.
that's
Yeah.
we're focused on live streaming, but again, bringing the reality component to it and this life lesson learned. And for me, it's meeting amazing, incredible people. I think for me, you said introvert and extrovert, and there's the in between. I forgot what that's called.
Ambivert.
So yes,
Ambivert is
ambivert.
right.
So on camera, we can be very extroverted. We can connect with people. We connect with
Yeah,
the audience. We want to make those connections with our potential clients or our potential audience. And we want them to see us and be like, wow, that you really connect with that person, that character, that identity, that they're speaking to me. I feel like they
right.
know me. Right. And then there's the part of us where we're introverted, where I'd rather be off camera. I'd rather be out in the garden. I'd rather be in the dirt, playing outside with talking to my plants, or with our animals, whatever it is. So I think that for me, meeting those people and maintaining those connections, much like you,
Yeah.
Bruce, you're one of those people that I've been able to be invited back on a show. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to take me away from my introvertedness outside in the garden. It's springtime, butterflies and bees. We talked about the bees and the beehive. You might bring up that metaphor here in a little bit, but bringing me back to this, which is something else I do love and I do miss. And even though I haven't been actively like live streaming in the last year, it's something that I still am connected with. And I still feel that it's okay to step away, but still take on those invitations, right? To come back and be like, all right, let's check back in. Let's not forget that this was still a very important part of my life or my business or what I was doing for a few years, and reconnect with that. So the people for me is what brings me back over and over again. Old friends and making new friends along the way.
Right. And maybe I can add a layer to that, because as you know, I'm very, particularly when I travel, I try and search out the people that I do believe are in my jive hive. And what I mean by that is those people that I have a kind of energy connection through the camera or through direct messaging or texting or calls, whatever it is, but it hasn't been an in-person visitation. So for me, when you've either interviewed somebody or been on somebody's show as a guest, when you actually get to meet them in person live, it's like all the, what I call the happy glad, or the tense moments, none of them are there. It's like you just say hi, or you might hug, and you might, I mean, it's just like, and to me, that's such an amazing barrier, because people have seen you good, bad, or indifferent, either hosting or guesting, right? So it's like they know you. It's like they know your persona, and I find it absolutely incredible to actually travel to other regions, even internationally, and you just never know the invitations you're going to get. I mean, I've had many an invitation that I would never ever have dreamt of would be possible, but people have said, "Hey, would you like to do this, or come see me?" And they say, and they kind of tongue in cheek say, "Come see me." Well, when I actually go see them, it's like, "Oh my God, you actually came."
Yes. No, I agree with that. I think live streaming has provided some opportunities not only to meet wonderful people, which in turn amazing invitations, opportunities that you would never imagine or dreamed of, just being not in front of the camera, right? Not out there, not putting yourself out there. So I agree, just going to different conferences or local meetups like you host, different types of events locally, or even just traveling. Like you said, you're more of a traveler than I am. I don't travel quite as much as you do, but if I did, it would be the same thing. It's like, oh, I know somebody in the city. I really want to see them. Like, hey, I'm in town. Let's go grab lunch, right? Let's go have a cup of coffee or something. But in conferences, I've gotten to meet a lot of the people that I got to meet online first. And then when you meet them in person, it's like you said, like, I feel like I know you. You're even better in person than I imagined. Yes, absolutely.
And actually, not to be braggadocious, but my best moment. Do you remember Gillian Mulholland that used to sing a lot on LinkedIn? Anyway, so Gillian's in Melbourne, Australia area. So when I went to Australia, I actually part of my planning was she was going to be starting to like sing live in front of a band again, which she hadn't done for a while, and she had this gig on Kilda Beach in just outside Melbourne, and I said I'll come, and I guess she thought, yeah, right. So I actually showed up at her concert.
Oh my goodness.
So I kind of walked along the front where she was singing. There weren't many people there. And it like stopped her in her tracks. She said, "Oh my goodness, Bruce, you came.
You're here. You came. You're here. You were not joking."
That's right. So some amazing, memorable moments. And all right. So a couple of the, I guess, suck moments, or not so good moments.
Okay. Live streaming. Some of the most hardest parts, I think, and again, going back to this whole reality piece of, and putting it into life lessons is really understanding the commitment behind this, the commitment of getting guests. If you're not getting guests, creating topics and having that ready to go for your live. It depends on your approach and your style of your live stream, but the commitment behind it, right? The time, the money, the resources that it's going to take. And people sometimes don't really realize like how much it can be. And in hand with that is sometimes it can be lonely if you don't have a team. So I think that's another part, is understanding that live streaming, it grows quickly, right? With all the things that you have to do between marketing and outreach and talking with the people in the comments and going back and following up, everything, all these different things, right? The guests, checking in with them, making sure they're ready to go, checking with them after, giving them the thank yous and showing them the appreciation and the gratitude. So it's just so much. And so when you realize like, wow, I'm doing this all alone, and you realize how much more time consuming it is and how it takes away from other things in your business or other things that you are responsible for. Fill in the blank of whatever that is to you. But that is one of the, I think, the hardest parts that I've have to come to terms with. And you can't just gloss over that. You can't just be like, no, it'll be fine. You're going to get through it. You're going to do great. Live streaming's really easy. It can be easy. It can be easy, but there's a lot of difficult things that you have to get through and you have to consistently work through.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm a process guy. I arrogantly call myself a process whiz. So even putting in place its solid, repetitive processes, it's still work, and you still sometimes don't do it consistently. And so what I find is that, and I teach people that, I say, imagine that I have a process for that. Well, actually, I do have a process for pretty much everything in my life, even my pleasure, even my walks, even my downtime. I still have a process for that, because that helps me get over the totally dysfunctional, discombobulated childhood that I went through. And so at least I know where it comes from. Anyway, the point about that is,
no, there you go. It's so true. That's so true. Just having that organization, that structure, that routine that really you have embedded to maintain that consistency, even that, can get blown out of the water.
And it can. And even with the best process, we're still dealing with a living, feeling human person, or persons if it's a group. I've done a few group live streams before.
Yes. Yeah.
Which are even tougher. But so that's why I go back to the one-on-ones, and I love to shine the light on, lady leaders like yourself, for sure. Aww. So no, but well, thank you. But the point about that is that, there are curveballs, even with the best planning, stuff happens, like,
and automations.
Yeah.
Because I know that this is part of the process, is setting up those automations. Even with automations, I have to say that, just because even that, there's always going to be something.
Yeah. I mean, it's like now, the ongoing history of StreamYard and LinkedIn. We're probably not seeing the comments on LinkedIn because guess what? They're not being friendly today, and that happens. Oh, there we go. Gabe is on. Hey.
What's up, Gabe? That's the guy. That's the one. He that is the one that really got me into this.
So talk about hard times. So Gabe, I was a guest on his show, and it was in height of COVID. And not only that, but I was in California, and we had a major power outage. So I lost everything the day of. So I didn't want to let him down. So I drove to a Starbucks that actually had power, and I drove as close to the store as I could where I could pick up on their Wi-Fi.
Smart problem solving. I love it.
Survival. I did my live with Gabe on my smartphone in front of a Starbucks, which was absolutely jam-packed because it was the only business for like miles around that magically had power.
I couldn't imagine the connection with so many people using the Wi-Fi.
I know the Wi-Fi was dragging slow, and I said to him, hey man, I'm like, so number one, I'd never done it on a smartphone before. Number two, I was in a strange place. And number three, you know, who would imagine you'd have to sit outside a Starbucks? So that was one. And then another one I did, similar thing. We were always getting major power outages where I lived in California. I actually had to go to the UPS store. Again, they were the only place around with power. And I said to the guy at UPS, hey, have you got internet? He said, yeah. I told him, I said, hey, I have this commitment. Can I borrow it? He said, sure. So I said, where can I sit? He said, oh, you can sit in the corner. So he let me sit in the corner of his store. How about that?
How about that?
Because I was real. I said to him, man, you know, I have this commitment. I don't want to let the person down. And yeah, so I was sitting in the corner on the floor of a UPS store once, and I did a lot.
So much for that routine or that structure or that process that you already had in place. My dog's back there.
Yeah, that's it. So distractions, right? So what?
Yeah, stuff like that. Okay, listen, I want to talk about something real quick because Gabe's here. And this was something that I had already I was planning to talk about because we're talking about lessons learned and we're talking about live streaming. And Gabe is someone that has been through this, so I know. And it's going to go back to us taking those hiatuses when it comes to these kinds of things in live streaming, because it can be, like I've already said, it can be incredibly difficult to do it alone, time consuming, overwhelming. You don't realize what you're really getting into at the beginning of it until you are into it and you're already building these processes and you're just like, oh my gosh, there's so many processes that I have to now add to my to-do list in my business, in my whatever it is that you're creating and building. So I think when it comes to what I was saying about that online presence and then being able to take a step back when things, other things need your attention, life is calling you. And I think it's okay. I think that's so important to say that you can have those goals and you can have, like what we started at the beginning with, is those dreams of, oh, I'm going to have a live stream and this is what I'm going to do. And this is going to be great. And we go through all that energy that, at the beginning of anything, it's exciting. At the beginning of anything, right? We have that excitement built in, and then you start to realize how difficult it can be and how much it's going to take out of you. And then some of us would call it burnt outness. We get to that burnt out part, and it's like, okay, what do I do now? How do I deal with this? Do I take a step back? Do I keep going and hammering and at it? And as we all hear oftentimes, is you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. You got to keep going. You can't stop. But I have a different opinion. I said it's okay to stop. It's okay to take a step back. It's okay. Why? And it's going to go back. Taking care of yourself, taking care of your mental health, taking care of your physical health, if that's what is part of this, or your family, if that's something that is what's going to need your attention at that time. And it's really taking a toll on you when it comes to your business, or when it comes to the responsibilities you have as a online presence, as a creator. So I just wanted to say that because Gabe's here and he has been a wonderful example of it's okay to go do what you need to do, come back. We're all still here. Most of us are doing well. And we always welcome each other back when we're popped back up like this, like a surprise, like, oh, DeeJae, wow, I haven't seen you in forever. Yeah, that's right. I've been taking time off and I'm okay with that. And I love that. And I need that right now. There's just other things that are just need me more, like my own mental health or my family or my father, right? Because, well, that's a different story. But really, that's what kind of took me away initially, was my father and some medical stuff he was going through. But I just wanted to say that because it is important.
Sorry to learn that. And so I want to talk about so people think I'm quirky, but you know, when I tell this story, we all have internal voices, right? And we predominantly have a negative voice, and we also have a positive voice. And I gave my voices names. So Chipmunk Charlie is my negative guy, and he is annoyingly high pitched. So he's like, so he's in here telling me, Bruce, you can't do this, you can't do that. What about this? What about that? Now, Alexander, my positive voice, he's cool. He's very, he's very calm, collective, very eloquent in the words. So I have a strategy when I'm in that downward spiral of not feeling the right energy to come be a live stream host or be a guest, I have to get Alexander to go either take Chipmunk Charlie on a vacation, or
Oh my goodness.
I have
I'm
to take,
loving this.
or I have to get, worst case scenario, Alexander has to go whack-a-mole Chipmunk Charlie just to silence him a little bit. And the reason I say that is it creates this inner tension inside you that guests pick up on. So if you're not really, if you're in what I call friction, we talked about this in the green room, if you're in friction and not flowing, those live streams don't go well at all. And in fact, you do a disservice to your guest, right? And you kind of do a disservice to yourself, right?
And your audience. I mean, it's and your business.
Right.
It just multiplies right there.
Right. And so that tension, and it's really hard to explain to people how aggressive that tension is. I mean, you get it because you've been through it. Gabe gets it because he's been through it. Anyway, the point about the lesson learned about that is I found that instead of walking away completely, I've down tuned my frequency of being a live stream host. So now
that's a great one.
Alexander's told me it's okay if you only do one a month, but the one you do that month, you better be on. You better be all the things that you promised you would be to help the guest. Because again, my makeup of my guests, or 70% of my guests, they have never done a live stream before in their life. So I'm like the newbie guy for them.
Yes.
And that adds an extra level of pressure and responsibility.
Absolutely.
But I'll flip that. It's a great example. You know Claudia Wyatt, right? So Claudia, 2.5 years ago, was a first-time live stream guest for me. Super nervous, didn't know what to do. Fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, she came to Phoenix and we met in person for the first time with Tisha Marie Pelletier, who's another amazing live stream.
Yeah. You guys have been a long time, you and Tish.
I know. It's like, and we talked about, imagine if she'd not said yes. And we talked about this thing called timing. People underestimate good choices around timing, right? And if it don't feel right, don't push it. If it don't feel right, you don't have to say yes.
That's right.
It's better to say no, because otherwise you're just going to create all this angst and stuff inside you, and it shows. I mean, I can go back and look at my live streams, and I know the times that I was not a good host. I was angst up. Chipmunk Charlie was like taking over. It was like, Bruce, you look weird. You look old. You look fat. Yeah. All those things.
Right. You know what, though? I just have to say, because you keep saying Chipmunk Charlie, and I wrote it down, the negative voice. I would love to know, people that go back and watch this, like, what would they name their negative voice and what would they name their positive voice? That would be a great exercise to really kind of like think about it and give it some really deep internal awareness.
Right. And actually that came about. I have to give gratitude to a doctor who was doing a study on imposter syndrome for her PhD. And she got stuck on her process because they accelerated the time when she had to do her final dissertation and final prep. So Asia and I, we were in California, we were chatting. She said, Bruce, I don't know what to do. They moved up my dissertation by 5 weeks. It's like, I can't be ready. And I said, okay, well, let's unpack your processes. Let's take them apart. And her dissertation was on a special type of imposter syndrome with lady leaders. And it was fascinating to see that even though she was doing the study on that, what was holding her back and making her processes not be ready was her own imposter syndrome. So that's when we came up with naming the voices. And you know what? As soon as we named the voices, she was like Mach 2 with her hair on fire, like, the old Top Gun.
Yeah, what? I think that's a great exercise. As soon as you said it, I'm like, what a great exercise to do to really get in tune with that part of you. And then find a way to just kind of tackle it, overcome it? What
Right.
can we do in order to be able to have more control over that and not let it just take over us?
Right. And then the other piece of that is the positive voice. Pick somebody who you would aspire to or have known before that really motivates you. So in my case, Alexander comes from, I love Alexander Rossi, the IndyCar driver. So he is my, so I watch his, so I watch as many things as he talks to. He doesn't talk very much. And I got to see him in person prepare for a race. And when I watched, it was like, oh my God, I am so happy I chose Alexander as my positive voice. And I've never forgotten that. He hardly talks in preparation. He speed reads, which I didn't know. And he's a visual learner. And it's amazing to watch him prepare and talk about getting rid of all the negative voices. And just to finish that, so what's the result, right? So when he worked with the team and I watched him and they got prepared, he went 1 second a lap faster after they prepared, right? Now, that may not seem a lot, but in competitive IndyCar racing, you're talking about tenths of a second.
Oh, yeah.
That make the difference. So this guy went a second a lap faster.
Wow. I agree with you. No, even those milliseconds count. And even in life, right? Those, it all counts. It all counts. And I can kind of go back into like even real life, like just that one first step, that little baby. It's that same thing. It's that 1 millisecond that it's going to just kind of continue and then you can build on.
Well, it's the power of yes, right? So if you're feeling good, but you're only 50% sure, just say yes and it will fall into place. That was the lesson learned around timing with Claudia and Tisha when we talked. It's like she said yes at the right time and Claudia's trajectory changed paths and she's amazing. She's now her own live stream host, whatever. She does whatever she wants to do with all of her talents and she's not afraid to do them. So
wow, I love that.
All right, so I know you wanted not to overrun on time. I want to be respectful. Wow. So what's your funniest moment? I have one with a fellow host that you'll relate to.
Funniest moment? Ooh, you got me. Funniest moment? I don't know.
Can I share mine?
Sure, go for it. I'm gonna give it some thought. Sure.
So for my 100th live stream hosting show, I asked a group, including Brian Shulman, Deborah Barrows, Gracie Ruth, and several other people that had either been guests or in Southern California. Well, I was flying up to Portland for work and pleasure, and the plane was delayed. So it came to set up for live stream time, and I'm in the Uber.
Oh, goodness, you
backseat of the Uber. So I said to the guy, the Uber, I said, hey, I really need, because it's my 100th, like who wouldn't show up? So anyway, so I said to the guy, hey, can I do this live stream here? And he said, sure. And I said, can I say hi? So I started the live stream in the back of the Uber, introducing the Uber driver. And anyway, he dropped me off and it was in a rural location. It was an unmarked driveway. So the guy took me up this unmarked driveway and dropped me off in this nice turnaround, turning point area with a garage. And he said, I think it's it. So he dropped me off and I'm still live streaming. Well, Brian Shulman, to his delight, said, where are you? And I told him, hey, I'm about to check into this Airbnb. And he said, no, where are you? So I told him and said, so Brian said, oh, hang on, let me go call the cops and I'll see if they can. He didn't actually do it, but
yeah, wow.
But it was like, so anyway, so I'm finishing up my live stream in this guy's yard with my suitcase, checking in this Airbnb, and then the host came out and he said, like, what are you doing? So it's like
all on live.
He didn't realize I was going to be the Airbnb guest. So imagine that. Started in the Uber, finished by being challenged with the Airbnb host whose house I was going to share. So memorable moments.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any good stories like that. I try to be so making sure I'm at my desk in my chair ready to go and not taking the chances
Well, I
of being
wanted
out in the wild.
I didn't plan it that way, trust me. But again, it's back to that you commitment, right? I had
Yeah.
committed to that. I
Yeah.
did a lot of other busy professionals and friends and fun people to be there with me. You know, what was I going to do? Like quit? Well, like not do it? Like not
No,
show
of
up?
course.
Right?
You have to show up. Yes. No, I agree. In those times, you just got to roll with it. You got to do it. So from today's episode, from what I've gotten is you have streamed from a car in front of Starbucks.
Yes.
Using their Wi-Fi with 100 people during time of no power. You streamed from the UPS floor in the corner.
Yeah.
And now an Uber in Portland trying to get to an Airbnb. So you just got to go with it. You got to roll with it and take it for what it's worth and make the best of it.
So selfish plug, because again, I want to be respectful of your time. You're a strategist around live streamer. I'm more of a tactician around the process. But how do you want people to reach out to you if they want strategy on live streaming?
Sure. LinkedIn is the main platform. You can reach me at. That's where the majority of all my stuff is on. I do have an Instagram, but I also have the YouTube, and I would love support on the YouTube. If I get back at it and we start live streaming, it's going to be on that YouTube channel for sure, where all the old episodes are and all the new episodes will be. So Silver Fox Talks is the
right. Well, good news for you. You froze a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, the good news for you is it will also be on YouTube tomorrow. So I think DeeJae's had like we said, one of those live stream moments. I don't know if you can come back, DeeJae, or okay. Well, I'm gonna actually hopefully you will come back, and I'm gonna do my little outtake video, a couple actually. And this is kind of a little bit about what I do on the process side of life. So here we go.
You're frustrated that you have no time and you just hate it. You lost your mind. You're running around the kids and the spouse, and the business that was once your passion has got you burnt out. So, consult with Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt. He'll help you find the truth so that you can do you first. See, it's all about simpler, faster, better, so you can save massive amounts of time and money instead of longing for the day where you can finally kick your feet up. Do yourself a favor. Call up Bruce. He'll tell you about process cleanup.
All righty. Well, DeeJae had technical issues. We were just talking about the unplanned, unpredictable things. So just want to finish my outtake. Thank you, DeeJae. And if you come back, I'll pop you back in. And anyway, so a couple of things for me. I'm a LinkedIn local host here in the Phoenix East Valley. So we have our next event on May the 14th. So if you're watching this and you're in the area, please come and join us. It's a fun event. And then the other thing is, you'll see I have a 3D online headquarters or community that I'm about to launch again. So just wanted to give you a little outtake on that. And this is about being in the right place at the right time using the right tech. So here we go. And thanks, Devin James. He helped me with both of my outtake videos. So be right back. We ended up creating 3 spaces, which people are going to be able to see. And we ended up with spaces called Connect and Shop and Play.
You don't want to miss out. That's all I'm going to say. The right place, the right time, the right tech. In the Omniverse is where I place my bet.
Connect and Shop and Play.
Imagine having Google stocks back in the day when you got up on the ground floor. Pennies to the dollar. This is opportunity calling, so you better yell holla.
Well, hi.
I am so sorry. My power internet just flickered.
There we
turned on.
go. We were just talking about that. Anyway, I did my outtake on what I do, and
That's fine.
I know you dropped back in right at the end. That's so a couple of years ago, who imagined I'd do a little rap thing with Devin, right?
Yeah, no, you're a man of many talents.
Well, that's to. I was talking about my online community that I'm going to be relaunching a different format because it's the right place, the right time, and now the right tech. So that was kind of what the little outtake was about. So thanks so much, DeeJae. Thanks for coming back despite the technical issues. So final thoughts or wishes?
Oh, geez. You know what? Just don't take life too seriously in the sense of, well, I shouldn't say don't take live streaming too seriously. Take it seriously, but not too seriously, because life happens and that's okay. And we're all human, and we all understand that it is what it is. And, there's just much more important, bigger, better, greater things out there. So
yeah.
Stay
Great
true.
example, right? We had a technical glitch right at the end, but you're a lady of your words, particularly for that commitment. You fixed it, you came back, and in between, I, covered the time with my outtakes. So nothing lost, all gained. All right. Well, thanks, Gabe,
much
for
gratitude.
being live with us. If you see this on replay, you can still ask questions in the comments. DeeJae, I know, is very committed to always giving answers. Ask your toughest question. Ask the questions that you thought nobody will ever answer that question for me. Or, don't talk yourself out of the, ponderment or wonderment questions. Just go for it, and we will take care of you. And if we can't answer the question between our joint networks, we probably have somebody that can answer the question, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Global University. That's what I call it. That's why I live stream. I don't listen to the news. I learn from people like you and all my other guests, and I learn global news by live streaming. Yeah. All right. We'll hang for a minute. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, DeeJae. Pleasure.